Everybody hop aboard the no thought train.
Yes, or as we like to call it, 0.0 point reviews. God, I need to get like used to my
There's
weatherman
0
stuff.
point to this one, baby. No.
Yeah, except for this one, this pointing. Otherwise, it sucks.
Yeah.
So, my question for you is: had you seen this prior to picking it?
I have once, and I only kind of remembered part of it. So watching this one again for Boys from County Hell, it was pretty interesting to actually sit down and watch it again and actually catch things I had missed like the first time through. Had you seen it before?
No, never. I had never ever heard of this before, so it was like I didn't know where to look for it at first, and then it being a Shudder original, I was kind of like, aha, this could be fun.
Aha, Shudder.
Yeah, like I've never really seen a movie from them where I didn't have fun watching it. And maybe I just haven't watched enough, but
Didn't
Shudder
they do
originals have been
Mandy,
pretty
or
good.
did they just? Yeah,
I
I
think
thought
so.
so. Okay. I know they've got a
Man,
few others, and I got a couple on my shelf too, but it's been a while since I've actually gone seeking anything on Shudder outside of Joe Bob Briggs and The Last Drive-In.
respect. Oh God, what else was in Shudder that I was like really excited about? Other
Oh, were
than
you
Joe
poking
Bob,
around
of
in the
course.
menu then?
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit.
Yeah.
Because God, I love horror films, and if they have something that I don't have, hooray! Uh, there's a lot of stuff that they have that I don't have, but that doesn't mean all of it's great. But they do have a lot of good horror content, obviously, like
Yeah.
much better that you're going to find on Netflix, which is a damn joke anymore. Like Hulu has a better horror selection than Netflix does.
Yeah, Hulu's got a pretty good new horror stuff for like kind of name franchises like say Hellraiser, Predator with Prey. You know, they got a bunch of things coming down the pipeline. Netflix, they get the international stuff, but they don't really have anything really American per se, unless they license from like Warner Brothers for like 6 months to a year, and then it's on HBO Max permanently after that.
Which is what we're going to start seeing in the near future coming from WB stuff. Like everything from their animated department is going to be contracted out, for lack of a better term.
Amazon Prime.
Oh, is that going where it's going to go?
Yep.
Okay, and then
Same thing with some of the Sony animated stuff as well. Like there's some live action Spider-Man stuff. There's like Spider-Woman. They got a few things going. Well, I forgot what the other Spider-Man show is. Silk, I think it's called, or something like that.
What the hell is going on with all everything in my garage is falling over? There is
the studio, kayfabe.
The studio, yes. Not the trash cannon boxes. There's one supposed to be animated.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be, I think it's sophomore year it's called.
I think so.
It's gonna be the MCU Spider-Man origin story. But Tom Holland is not going to be voicing that Spider-Man.
Nope.
Media is making that a whole lot bigger of a deal than it needs to be. Like they're making it sound like, yeah, they're making it sound like he's being replaced. He's not being replaced. He's just not doing ADR. So get off yourself. I don't know what the second one was called. Was that the one with Madam Web?
No, Madam Web is an actual movie they're shooting right now with a favorite of ours from Krampus, Adam Scott, I believe.
Is he really?
Yep.
Sweet. Okay.
I believe so.
All I'd heard was, or know, is a very attractive young woman is playing Madam Web. And if you don't know, viewers at home, which I believe if we're still doing this for Patreon, both of you probably know, Madam Web was always voiced by Joni Lee, Stan Lee's wife. Like he kind of created that for her, I think, or the animated series did.
I'm going to be so conflicted by her looking so hot and sounding so old. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, right. It's gonna That's how things get started, like a thing.
Oh well. Well, back to Boys from County Hell.
Yeah. So about all that, where does the title come from? Like I was it just they never changed it to the what the movie was going to be, or
I'm unsure, to be quite frank with you. It is a unique title that does stand out. So if you're like a casual horror person and you're stumbling across, hey, Boys from County Hell, what the hell is this about? And you go check it out, and there's some pretty good word and buzz about this movie as far as like it's a bit horror comedy. I'd say it's less on the comedy than and more on the horror, and it doesn't really nail both. But as far as like any sort of like you catch the name, you're like, that sounds interesting, and then you take a look at say like your background image, and it's like,
yeah,
I'm interested. I'm game. I'll give it a crack. And if you already have a Shudder like subscription, we're not pimping them out. They're not a sponsor. We got none of this going on. But we both have Shudder for our own various reasons. We both love horror. But you want to check this out, hey, it's great. If you want to rent it, it is available on like Amazon Prime, all the other places, but you got to pay a few bucks if you want to rent it or own it. But you catch the name, and that picture, hey, that looks interesting. You check out the cute little teaser trailer. It's like, ooh, you might just get me. There's enough going on around it, especially with word of mouth, that it's a fun movie. I'll definitely tell you, it is a fun movie. Whether it nails everything is kind of another question, but when you're talking horror comedy, that's a very hard mix to nail.
yeah, and they took their disabilities, a film's disabilities of being, for one, foreign,
Yeah.
outside of the US.
It's an
um
Irish horror comedy film, y'all.
yeah, only going to one particular streaming service, more or less. um and no huge famous actors or special effects. They wrote a good story,
Oh yeah.
and they got good actors to be in this movie, like people that actually make you feel like they are that character, and you get empathy for that character or those characters, depending upon which one it may be. They create a whole new mythos of the vampire, and you want to kind of roll your eyes at that, at the sound of that, but no, they kind of get you in the first, what, 30-40 seconds with how different it is.
Yeah, I'd say that. And then they also get into the mythology of Bram Stoker and how he ripped them fuckers off.
uh
Bloody
yeah, like
pirate. No, I'm kidding.
I when I was explaining this place, 6 Mile Hill, to my wife, and saying that's where Bram Stoker comes from, so it's like everybody that lives there needs his name for the tourist money, but they hate his fucking name because of all the bullshit. I said, so it's basically like John Steinbeck is for me back home with Salinas and Monterey. It's like nobody fucking really likes John Steinbeck except for people come to see that fucking name. He
Well,
got
they named the
ostracized from,
stupid
like,
bar after Bram Stoker too. It's like the Stoker.
well, yeah. And at first I'm kind of like, okay, what's this movie about? I thought it was like a fire poker. I'm like, oh, derp, derp. That's right. The sign even looks like Count Chocula.
Stoke and
Um,
Stoker could mean many different things. Just saying.
it's true, but it was
That's
kind
not
of
a weed
neat
bar.
how they used foreshadow and how much they dislike Dracula, and how when they finally get around to reading it, nothing in the book is useful to them because it was all fiction.
Yeah, because his name is actually Abertak.
Abertac. I
Or
liked
Abertak,
that.
yeah.
Whatever it was something to that effect.
I
I
wrote
wrote
it
it
down.
down.
I wrote it and I try to pronounce it as I wrote it. It's Abertak, but it's probably Abertak. The accents are pretty thick in this, so if you have a little struggle like actually listening to this, forewarning, throw on the subtitles. You'll catch it then. And by the end of the movie, you actually get used to the accent. So if you're not used to an Irish accent, this is a good way to do it. Is throw on the subtitles.
Yes, and giggle a little bit, because like I'd say 98% of the subtitles are right, but then there's that 2% that just says indistinct chatter. You're like, oh fuck, that's racist.
Well, I actually thought they were speaking more in like Gaelic at that point, but I'm not positive.
For the most part, probably.
Probably, yeah.
But there was a couple times where I think they were just like swearing at each other.
Yeah, and probably in terms that nobody should should know that's outside of Ireland.
Right. But it was this is going to be worth your time. If you guys haven't checked this out, do check it out. I'd be interested to see if it's on physical media. I enjoyed it. It, instead of a vampire having to suck the blood out of its victim, it just commands the blood to come out, and that was so neat. I've not really seen anything like that outside of X-Men, with like Magneto pulling the metal out of Wolverine's face.
Oh, I know, right?
It was grim. It really was.
I'm just checking super quick. Is this on Blu-ray and DVD? And
Psycho
it is
Gorman
on
made it
Blu-ray
is
and
it?
DVD. Yep, Amazon's got it
Nice.
for $13.94 currently, and DVD for $11.99. Not too many people buy DVDs these days, but it is still the most popular format. Blah blah blah. Get off my soapbox. Buy your Blu-ray.
Oh, your Blu-ray. It is worth it because this is a pretty movie. And it's
Yeah.
dark at the same time. So, like, that's another way that they get around having a lower budget is things are dark. You don't get to see Abertac until really the end. And you do get to see a full frontal of him, but it's still very dark.
Yeah.
And that's actually leads up to a great joke in the movie where he's trying to call the cops without saying there's a vampire.
Yes. I thought that was hilarious, by the
way. And he's telling the cop, he's like, and he was very dark. And the cop and everyone else, well, the cop kind of drops his jaw, and everyone listening to him on the phone in the room drops their jaw, like, oh God, what did you just say? Because it basically sounds like he's describing a black guy running around the fucking village and like terrorizing people.
Yeah.
And he really meant like
tall and dark skinned.
He meant like dark and shadowy.
Like, whoa, dude, no.
Yeah.
You could have just said he was very pale.
Yes, which he wasn't though. And that was another cool thing. Abertac looked more like Nyx from Lord of Illusions when he gets unearthed.
I was gonna say a little bit, like Nyx, I could see that. I also was thinking it had some underworld elements to it too, where the blood's getting pulled through the ground and feeding him. And also when he came back to life, there's a little, I don't know if they had a gray tint or if it was just a color timing in Underworld where it just made everything look blue and gray. But I definitely got some vibes from that. But
no, I think you're right. When you're talking about when they bring up Bill Nye.
Yeah.
I think so.
I mean, there's definitely some influence in this movie from like some other vampire and whatnot movies out there.
Yeah, but I mean, it all worked out pretty goddamn well. I mean, Abertac looked like, okay, say like a what are the big motherfucking orcs on Lord of the Rings? The Iroquois? No, God, not Iroquois.
Iroquois.
Yes, sorry. I apologize, Native people.
You just apologize to them damn Uruk-hai orcs, you bastard.
No, because this one's got a fucking eating disorder. He hasn't eaten anything in a good ass long time, so now it's like he's just stuffing his fucking face.
He was getting some appetizers from getting the blood poked on his gravestones.
That was cool. I mean, I don't know about the concept of the bite not being what carries the infection, but the rocks kind of leaves a loophole of like, well, where did the infected rocks come from? If Abertac was the first documented bloodsucker, which he was not. He's not the first documented bloodsucker. The Chinese had that one, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
But at least this one in Ireland is the first one noted in Ireland, probably.
That works too.
That's my guess.
Yeah. That was one of the very few moments that made me kind of go, we're gonna deduct a few points from this flick.
Yeah.
Because that's actually somewhat common knowledge. Like if you've taken high school literature, you know that.
And we don't mean reading Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah, we're talking about watching the documentaries on fucking History Channel and shit that have like the really abridged versions, but they mention the good parts.
Oh, I was gonna say Dracula Untold was not bad. I'm kidding.
I've still yet to see that, but my dad really liked it, which tells me
You
it
may
might
or
be
may
up there.
not like it. Yeah.
It's probably going to be up there with Battleship. So.
It's all right. It's not bad. It's not great. It's somewhere in the middle.
I'm
But
certainly
anyway,
way
some of the
far
flaws
away.
with this movie do come down to a little bit of like the details and the backgrounds of the story narrative going on. Like, oh, first vampire, this, that, and this. You know, there's a little shaky ground in the background. You know,
It's not. It's
it's
not enough
just
to
how it
nitpick.
goes. Yeah.
Yes, it's not enough to nitpick. There are bigger things to nitpick about the movie, but
Yeah, I got
little
one
things
too.
like that is really not nothing. The scene with the rocks and the fight that these guys get into, where uh, the guy first gets the blood going down to Abertac and kind of wakes him up. He gets after that. He gets that first shot, cuts himself on the rocks, and then after that, randomly, where is it? Dude gets hit by a fucking bull out
A
of
speeding
nowhere.
bull.
Yeah, this fucker right here. I'm gonna get out of the way. This guy right here just like rams him hard as fuck several times into these rocks. And it's, I don't know what happened to the cow afterwards or the bull. They don't talk about it, but it's like I
It was
wanted like
horny.
yeah, a scene of him like just looking off into the field listening to dust in the wind. But it was a great scene if you've ever been on a farm and seen how unpredictable bulls can be. It was kind of fun to watch, but at the same time, they didn't come back to that bull. It was a little foreshadowed, but they never came back to it.
We just had a little bit of bull in this movie, not a lot.
A little bit of bull. It what truly got me and made me take down a few points was Claire, the female boy of Hell County. So again, I still don't understand the fucking title because one of the boys is a very fine looking lady and a very well capable lady. She's not a damsel in distress. She drives a fucking bulldozer for Christ's sake, or a huge ass excavator.
She knows what she's doing.
Yeah, she knows how to fight. She's got balls bigger than the fucking lead character. She's kind of his inspiration to man up in a way. But then when it gets to the end, when it gets to Act 3 and they're going to have that showdown, they have her stay with her parents to take care of, who didn't need any caretaking.
I didn't understand that either.
Like, why did you just cut out one of the main characters from the final scene?
That's where I feel like the third act kind of drops off for me. Like they did a great job building up the first two acts, nitpick details, whatever, up to that point. It was a very solid first like hour of the movie. The last like 30 minutes were some questionable decisions. And why are you separating cast members when you really don't need to? It's pretty clear that everybody's like out. You're telling her to wait there until they wake up, or she's willing to wait there until they wake up. I would be a little more inclined to feel like, based on her character thus far at that point in the movie, I want to help you defeat the bastards. Let's just get on with this, and then we can take care of everybody. That's just me.
Yeah. Agreed. So when she's like, I'm going to stay here, I'm like, really? All right. And so, I mean, it all leads up to Eugene, the main character, somewhat duking it out with this malevolent creature that inspired the vampire
with his dad.
with his dad. And they're not susceptible to having their hearts removed with a stake. It just slows them down a bit and pisses them off. They have to be buried in dirt and have stones covered on top of that grave. The stones, for whatever reason, hold them down.
And the sunlight
But
doesn't work either.
the sunlight, that was fucked up.
That was
That was
dope.
really...
I was just dying of that.
But
As the
that's
sun
where you
comes
do
up,
get to
and they're
see.
like, "Yeah, sun," and it's like,
Shit.
"Oh, fuck me." That did sell that part for me. It was like he knew in that instant, "Oh shit, I'm fucked."
And then they even mention it later on at the end where Claire comes back because he defeats the monster. His dad praises him, and Claire magically appears. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, well, okay, they went with the super mega happy ending like Wayne's World.
She was driving her mom away in a bulldozer.
Yes. And everyone gets better as Eugene is putting stones on this shallow bit of dirt that he's thrown on Zartak or whatever his name was. Abertak. I was gonna say Zardoz. It's like, wait, no, that's the dude from Toy Story. I just messed myself up with Toy Story. Burying the guy.
Yep, with the rocks in the sand, and she shows up and she's like talking about how the sunlight doesn't really work. Oh, that was from like a different time or a different book or movie.
No, yes, it was. He talks about a German that made that up, and that was it Joseph or Frederick Marnow?
I don't remember.
Basically, it's the director of Nosferatu. It's the gentleman, and I use that term loosely, that John Malkovich plays in Shadow of the Vampire.
Oh, okay.
Which was a different but good vampire movie. I most people didn't like it. I thought it was kind of interesting. He made up the weakness of sunlight because that's what kills Max Schreck at the end of Nosferatu. He's like, oh, and just kind of dies slowly.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of like, oh shit. So not only does nothing in this book help, but this part was never in the book to begin with. So you're like, well, fuck.
Yep. And Eugene acts like, God damn it, I should have known better too.
Yeah. And then as opposed to them being together, which is how it was supposed to play out, more or less, she leaves.
Yep, she gone.
So again, like you said, choices were made. The last act is okay. It's not great. The first two acts were pretty great. Like it's almost on par with Shaun of the Dead. It had just a bit of accent of comedy where it made, because there were so few moments of comedy, it made the moments that you did get extra funny.
Oh god, there were like at the site where they were actually taking down like the cairn that Abertak was underneath, and like they're killing the one guy who just keeps coming back to life, and his dad, Eugene's dad, is like, that's not a vampire, he's just like drunk, no, he's on cocaine, and blah blah blah, and they keep putting him down. He's like, well, how the hell do we kill this fucker? That was so funny.
The fact that they had to keep doing, like you said, they impaled him, and you see him start like pulling himself up the crank.
It's sticking further down the stake.
Yes, and that made me laugh because it was red and white.
Yeah,
and I don't know about colors and standard protocols in Ireland, but red and white long sticks like that usually are indicated that the person carrying them is sight impaired. So I thought they just like shivved him with the fucking blind person's walking cane. And I was like, God damn.
That's wicked. Yeah.
And that was savage. And then another part that I liked that I wanted to point out, because it was a part that made the movie also have a little bit more credibility, was its sincerity, where the kid that dies, that gets gored by the bull, his dad was the undertaker of the small town, and he chooses to intern. Is that the word I'm looking for? Anyway, bury his own kid.
Oh, yeah. William. Yeah.
Yeah. And when they go to his house, he's holding them up to protect himself. The mom's basically catatonic, and he starts talking to them. And Eugene's dad starts talking, saying, "Hey, how long have we known each other?" He's like, "I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to Eugene."
Yeah.
And he starts speaking to him as if he wasn't holding a gun to him at all, but talking to him as if that was his second son that he's now talking to as a man and asking him to make a decision. And it was a very sincere moment. And that gave the film an extra bit of credibility for me. Like, I want to say this was a high ranking film. It's not. I can't decide if I want to go 4 or actually even 3.75 stars for this for me.
Yeah.
Shudder gave it 5 skulls. Most people I saw gave it 4. Had they not lobbed Claire out of the third act and then out of the finale of the ending, I probably would have gone with a solid 4.
I'm leaning towards a 4 myself. I wouldn't go any higher though, largely because I feel like the third act kind of fell apart a little bit for me. And just to go ahead and get into it, part of my problem is this was a road crew, and you had to bury him. Don't you have any sort of explosive techniques or anything like that? You could have just blown up the house with him in it and buried him under everything, including the rock and rubble. Just saying, you're just going to drop a little bit of dirt from a wall, just kind of scrape it out and throw a few rocks on him and he's done. I understand that was the concept, is that you had to bury him basically alive to defeat him. But how they got around to doing that was a bit anticlimactic for me.
Yes, considering he stuck his foot up out of the fucking grave to begin with, like there
Well, he
wasn't
used his
that
dad's
much
leg
covering
to
him.
stab him in the heart, and that's what was sticking out.
Oh, that's right, because it weakened him.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, because it doesn't kill them, it slows them down, weakens. Okay.
right.
Yeah, that part kind of.
I was like,
it could have been more.
Okay.
And then that scene leaves you, or I think it wants to leave you with that same feeling that you have at the end of Shaun of the Dead, where he's playing video games with his mate, or something awesome is happening, and then it closes out to a cool song. It closes out to a cool song, but nothing all that awesome is happening when he closes the door to the scene, basically.
Yeah.
He's got a 3-foot pile of rocks on a 4-foot long pile of fucking dirt. Like,
yeah,
it wasn't that impressive for
just
what
saying.
the rest of the movie was.
It didn't quite match up. I mean, I really liked what they did with Abertac as far as like the stalking and like the dropping in from the background like a badass. Like they definitely made him out to be a badass. So when they finally defeated him, that's why it felt a bit on the weak side for me.
Yes, and I don't know if it would be, can you call it convoluted, that they had to kill so many different enemies in this? Like, because in the vampire movies, clearly, like, different people get changed and turned, but it was somebody always being a different threat.
Yeah.
Like, what was the old man's name? Willie? Is that what? No, that was William.
Talking about his dad, the bearded guy?
No, the guy that they had watching the site at night that was
Charlie?
drinking. Charlie, yes. Yeah. Like, they had to fight him, which was
dope.
A good scene.
Yeah.
And then similar with William, again, a good scene. And then finally Abertac. And I don't know.
They kept it to 3 and not like 30,
Yes, I guess so. Instead of the whole town, like Salem's Lot was, a return to Salem's Lot.
That's what I was a little afraid of, and they didn't go that way.
We should do that one day. It's so stupid. And you don't want to know how I know it's stupid? Not because I watched it recently, but because I liked it as a kid. Like, really liked it as a kid. So it's probably just dumb as shit.
Well, that's probably the second movie more than the first one.
Yes, yes. No, I don't like the first movie. I like the remake, but I don't really care for the first movie. It wasn't, for
I
what
could
my
say that.
dad built it up to me, it was not scary. Like, he built up Salem's Lot and Amityville, like movies that truly terrified him. And my dad likes monster movies. No, no, dude, neither one of those films are scary at all.
Man, this just makes me, what this movie did is it really made me want to watch 30 Days of Night one more time with Josh Hartnett. That's where they're in Alaska and the 30
Yeah,
Days of Night over the town, and then the vampires come into town and they lay waste to everybody.
which was a really fun concept. I just don't really particularly care for Josh Hartnett.
At the time I didn't either, but watching it like recently within like the last year for me, I kind of came back around. I'm like, this isn't awesome as much as I would love it to be, but it's better than I remembered it being. So I like it. I like that one, but it doesn't have much humor going on. It's just more of a straight up horror movie.
Yeah, yeah. This, I mean, on top of the sincere moments, the dad, which was the comedy for me, he fucking kills me. Where they're trying to have a moment for basically the final scene, and he goes to give his dad a hug, and he basically slaps him in the fucking head.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What the fuck are you doing? I thought you were gonna give me a hug. The fuck was I gonna do that for? I'm trying to get around you."
Yeah, right.
That killed me. And then after that, that's when they bring the horror back by having to rip off Francie's fucking compounded leg. I'm glad they didn't show it. But one of the things that made the movie strong, again, was the sound effects. For what they couldn't show you, they had some really cool sound effects.
It
So,
made you
like,
believe it did happen.
yes, it was very wet sounding.
Yeah. And gnarly.
Yeah, and then when you'd hear Abertat coming, what was it, like a would you say, like growling, almost breathing,
A little bit, yeah.
heavy breathing, like, oh, what's in that cheese Danish?
Well, it felt a
But
little bit like watching a slasher movie, like say like Jason coming at you. Like something bad is coming your way, bro. Time to do something or run.
yeah, and that's if you can. If you're too close, the blood in your system will come out whatever pore it can
That
to go
was
to
totally
him.
awesome of a concept in this movie. That was so goddamn cool. Like, oh man, if
Yes.
he's even remotely close to you, you are already starting to die.
Yeah. And it's not people of dying of these major wounds, with the exception of William's mother. Um, it's just, it's the blood just leaving you, and you're losing all of your energy, all your plasma is just going away and going to this being so powerful that he commands the blood out of you.
All right.
Dope concept, and it completely deals away with any want that you'd necessarily have of seeing somebody get bit on the neck. Like,
Right.
I didn't really need that after seeing the eye blood coming out of the eyes.
Oh, the eyes, the nose, just whatever. Poor guy stitches from the back of his neck brace. That one
Oh
made me
god.
like go get a little cringe, like, oh, that's evil, you bastard. Thank you.
Kinda. I mean, I've had that happen on my back where I've
Hmm.
went back to karate class long before I should and fucked myself up, but it's not a good feeling. It's really not. And then it's like the chick that he was sitting there smoking weed with, like, oh, you're just high, you're just getting paranoid. It's like, no, when something like that happens, first you feel the pain, then you feel the drip. It
Yeah.
sucks.
No bueno.
And then, God, what was it? The cop who started peeing blood? Is that who it was?
Yes, that was. Oh, that gave me a little shudder down my back too. I was
That
like,
gave me
oh,
like flashbacks to my last kidney stone and stuff, which was not pleasurable. But I will think of this movie going forward every time I pass a kidney stone now.
you are welcome. Happy St. Patty's Day to you, Kevin.
Thank you. Happy St. Patty's Day to you. People in glass houses sink ships. It's the only thing I can remember from Boondock Saints. Because I didn't write that one. That was actually the one that was from the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway. But yeah, this flick, I want to get it on DVD. It's something I'd probably watch here and there. It's fun to add to the collection.
Oh, yeah.
And for it being not, for me, not a 4-star film, I enjoyed it enough to, yes, I'd want to purchase it.
Yeah, I
Just
think
to
I'm gonna.
have.
Yeah, I think I'll add it to the collection too. And just, it's got some really good characters in it. The story's pretty good until the last little bit, but don't take our word for it. Check it out yourself. Get your own opinion. You might like it way more than we do. Film is subjective, y'all. It's a-okay. If you like it, great. We just felt it had a little bit of a drop at the end. But good characters, good story, good practical effects for what they did. The only thing I say is I'm looking at your picture and I'm saying all this is I'm like, I wonder if they had in the back of their mind if they were going to use the bulldozer to fight Abertac at some point, and they just couldn't figure out how to make that work within their budget. And so that's why they had to go with like the scene that they did at the end. I'd almost wonder because of its budget if that's something they had to work with, and for like safety reasons and whatnot too. But like, I don't know. It's just me guessing, but it's not a bad idea. Like maybe they did have something a little more interesting planned, but they just couldn't pull it off for some reason. But I'm like, I see that bulldozer going for that hand, and I'm thinking, that might have actually been pretty freaking cool if you had a bulldozer run over the fucker, and then you started to bury. You had a load of stuff in the barrel already, and you just drop it right on top, and then you just smash it down into the ground like 5 times.
Yeah, back over it.
Pancake, bitch.
Was that shit in the road? I don't know. Let me back up and see.
It's roadkill now. And then you pave over it, and then nobody would get to it ever again. I don't know. It's just a thought. But hey,
yeah,
I had a fun time with this. So
yes. If you're looking for something to watch on a Friday night or just a rainy day afternoon, check this shit out. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. All right, Kevin, thank you for joining me today. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you next time. Make sure you check us out on all of our social media platforms. We got Facebook, Twitter. We are at Suns and Shadows. We're also on Instagram at Suns and Shadows Cast. We are at SunsAndShadows.com. Thank you again, everybody, and we'll see you down the road.